Hey, what's going on, folks? We have 3 stories for today. The first story is Washington Post published this article that says vaccinated people now make up a majority of COVID deaths, and also said it's no longer a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Wow. This is not Fox News, Alex Jones, independent journalists that need to be censored off Instagram. No, this is Washington Post saying it's no longer a pandemic of the unvaccinated, and vaccinated people now make up a majority of COVID deaths. It's especially interesting in light of what Biden's COVID-19 response coordinator said yesterday.
An important part of the conversation we have in the days and weeks ahead. Because here's what we know. If folks get their updated vaccines and they get treated if they have a breakthrough infection, we can prevent essentially every COVID death in America. That is a remarkable fact 2.5 years after we found this virus first in our country. But it's going to take all of us to make that happen. So please, don't wait. Get your COVID shot. Get your flu shot. That's why God gave you 2 arms. You get 1 in each arm if you want. Go to vaccines.gov.
Right. We're also going to watch this video of CNN learning that the LGBT club shooter is identifying as non-binary.
Attorneys for the accused shooter, Anderson Lee Aldrich, say in new court filings tonight that the suspect now identifies as non-binary.
And also, Kanye West seems to have been spotted with banned conservative commentator Nicholas J. Fuentes. What a wild week. The live show starts now. It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dream Rare Podcast. And remember, on this podcast, it's not simply enough to just vaccinate yourself in each arm like Biden's guy said. You should vaccinate your turkey. I'm just kidding. Spoiler alert, disclaimer, do not vaccinate your turkey, please, to all the left-wingers and, science fanatics here. Do not stick a vaccine in your turkey. That was a joke. I'm not trying to get sued. I could see that one coming in the mail. I vaccinated my turkey because, I watched this guy on Facebook and YouTube and he told it's just a joke, but your turkey may or may not have been vaccinated before it got to your dinner plate. But anyway, jokes aside, the Washington Post put out an article, and the headline of the article is "Vaccinated people now make up a majority of COVID deaths." And also there's a sub headline that had a picture and it said, "It's no longer a pandemic of the unvaccinated." So I was going to read the article and analyze what the article said, but Washington Post remind me of like homeless crackheads in LA. They're always begging for money. It's like, I don't want to pay you, Washington Post. Go, get out of here, scram. Please, $1 a day will help. Like they're like a Make-A-Wish kid or something at Washington Post. Their journalism's so pathetic and lame and nobody likes them that they just constantly have to beg for money. They're like, please, we have a Thanksgiving sale, please. And I'm like, you know what? No, I don't want to give you any money. So I'm not even going to analyze the article because Washington Post wouldn't let me read it because they're like begging for money like a homeless crackhead. So what does the article say in it? No idea. If you want to pay them, that's on you, but I'm not giving them a single cent. So anyway, that was the headline, how they came up to that conclusion based on what data. Check in with your local big pharma experts and fact checkers, and they'll tell you. Second story I wanted to cover today, because that one speaks for itself. I'm sure I have like a 40% chance of getting fact checked here. Fact check. Yeah, the headline said that, but we didn't. Whatever. Listen to who you want to listen to. But here's a clip I just want to play and react to it of CNN responding to there's some sort of nightclub shooter at a gay place in Colorado. And I guess the shooter has identified as non-binary. And here's just a clip of CNN I thought was interesting.
Attorneys for the accused shooter, Anderson Lee Aldrich, say in new court filings tonight that the suspect now identifies as non-binary. In a footnote to a motion asserting legal privileges, the public defenders say, quote, Anderson Aldrich is non-binary. They use they, them pronouns, and for the purposes of all formal filings will be addressed as Mix Aldrich. So in other words, not Mr. or Ms. Joining me now, CNN political commentator Errol Lewis, also back with me, Al Franken and Joe Walsh. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, that's not anything that we had heard from his background. You know, people have been looking into his background, and I don't know if anybody here, are you guys lawyers? I mean, you know, I don't know if, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, that's what he's now saying.
It sounds like they're trying to prepare a defense against a hate crimes charge. That's the least of his problems, legally speaking, but it looks like they're trying to build some kind of sympathy or at least confusion on the question of whether or not this was purely motivated by hate.
I mean, that is what it sounds like. We'll wait to see. Back to that conversation that I was just having with Juliet. Have you thought about that? I mean, have you had to think about what would I do in an active shooter situation?
Well, we all have to, and that.
All right, so I just want to say this. When it comes to any tragedy, shooting, crime, my new rule over the last couple of years that I've been doing, this is why, by the way, when it came to the, Ukrainian stories that Zelensky, the misinformation he was pushing about Ghost of Kiev, the propaganda story of this anonymous ghost-like character that's just shooting down Russian jets, or the Snake Island story that all left-wing and right-wing media was pushing, I take a week, because if it doesn't sound right, if it's starting to sound a little Jussie to me, I'm just like, I don't have to be first. Yeah, you get a lot of clicks and praise, but I'm like, let's slow it down because we really never know what happens. So with this nightclub shooter, I thought to myself two things, because there's obviously multiple scenarios, but if you look at the Walmart shooter that happened yesterday in, I believe, Virginia, it was a coworker who was shooting his employees. So it was a disgruntled employee who happened to be black. So that story is going to disappear because there's no he was gay or it's a hate. There's no angle to it that the left-wing media is interested in. So it's going to disappear, not just because of his skin color, but also there's no gay political angle. When it comes to the shooter at the nightclub and the gay club, I'm no detective, but if I were to sit back and really want to figure out why this was, maybe it was some ticked off, right winger who hates gay people. That's definitely a possibility. Maybe it was a gay person. Maybe it was a pissed off gay person who was mad at his friends at the club. These are, if you were an actual detective, you would have to weigh out the motive and try to figure it out. What the media doesn't do is they don't care what the motive is, so they just run with the story that they want. They push gun control, anti-Second Amendment rhetoric. In some cases, they push anti-First Amendment rhetoric. You can't say this because that leads to violence. And left-wing media is not even remotely interested in what actually happened. Now the shooter is identifying as non-binary, which means I think you don't have a gender. You just kind of float, between what you want or something. And, there's two possibilities or multiple possibilities, but two possibilities that come to mind. Either the shooter really was non-binary and was like a disgruntled gay person who maybe hated people or got mad at the gay community, or they're lying and they're just using that as a cop-out because like they said, they don't want it to be a hate crime and they want to get less charges, or just troll the media. I don't know what it is, but I'm definitely going to wait and watch and listen instead of just inject my politics into this situation, which is something that the media doesn't do. And as we talked about, Elon Musk is banning Alex Jones from Twitter because he says that, he uses the death of children and politicizes it. I hear what Elon's trying to say, but that's what the left-wing media does with every tragedy. They're not interested in who the person was. And I think, there's all sorts of communities or whatever, but I think the gay community gets the same type of coverage as the black community in a way, where if you go to the gay world, I mean, no need if you're not, but anyway, they don't all get along. It's not like everybody just holds hands and they're like, we're all gay. We don't fight. We don't argue. This is it. We're all just we flip between. That's not how it is. There's a lot of pettiness. There's a lot of people that don't like each other. There's a lot of probably gossip and people doing things to people's boyfriends. You get what I'm saying? It's not like this cohesive community where everyone gets along. So the fact that the media doesn't even consider that maybe there was a pissed off gay person at another gay person just shows that they're not being honest. It's like with the black community. Sure, in some cases, there's a lot of unity. But in some cases, there's really not. If you go to a lot of major cities, there's like no unity, there's no loyalty. And in fact, most of the crimes are senseless, reckless, and against people that they claim to be united with. So I'm not saying that people don't get along a little bit, but this in the media, I see the parallels of like, oh, it's the gay community. And it's like, oh, it must have been the shooter must have hated them because that's the only possibility. Like as if no gay people have ever gotten fights before. And it's the same thing in like the black world. It's like, yeah, a lot of people get along, but also a lot of people don't. Like this false idea of like, it's all perfect. And the only person who could ever commit a crime has to be a right winger. It's like, that's not real. That's not the real world. So I'm still not going to politicize that event. I think it's very telling that CNN can't fathom that that person might actually be non-binary and attacking their own people per se. And they're not even considering that. They might be right that that was not the case and they're just using it as a cop-out, but it really shows who CNN is. If you didn't already know, they're not interested in the truth. Like me, I'm like, it could have been a right winger. It could have been a left winger. It could have been someone gay. It could have been someone straight that's pretending to be gay for political incentive. I don't know, but the difference between me and CNN is I don't have a horse in this race. Evil is evil. In my opinion, any murder is a hate crime, so it doesn't matter whether the person's gay or not. I mean, that's what's more hateful than murdering innocent people. And there's another shooting yesterday, but there is no political narrative for them to push, so they act like it doesn't exist. I mean, this is the sad state of the media, but to be positive and end this story, first of all, God bless anybody involved in either shooting. You never want that to happen. With that being said, I think the media is dying. Nobody takes them that seriously anymore. Podcasts are killing and crushing CNN. Even, independent media, right-wing media, there's a lot of people that are doing better than the mainstream media. So, they're rightfully dying. I think there's a lot of positive things going on. There's a lot of competition with Rumble, Getter, True Social, Twitter, now that Elon owns it. And I think competition's good. And eventually the cream rises to the crop. And no matter how much they try to censor the truth and conservatives, it's not going to work, in my opinion. I don't think it's working. That's a perfect segue to my next story, because Kanye West was apparently, according to Right Wing Watch, who I guess Right Wing Watch is left wingers who just find clips of right wingers, and post them on Twitter, kind of like libs of TikTok for right wingers. But they posted a video of Kanye West and Nick Fuentes at an airport. Or at least it looked like it. It's hilarious for multiple reasons. First of all, a lot of people who watch my channel know who Nick Fuentes is. A lot of people don't. He's in his 20s. He's a young conservative who, his story was that he was like a mainstream normie conservative, super Zionist, super into Israel. And then he says he started questioning like America's loyalty to Israel. And all of a sudden, everybody started calling him anti-Semitic, this and that. So he kind of just fully embraced it and just like started making jokes. He's very, I would say, uncensored, unfiltered. He's funny. You know what I'm saying? He has a sense of humor. And the Shapiros and the Charlie Kirks and the normie right wingers of the world tried to cancel him. I think he even got kicked off of Getter. Getter banned Nick Fuentes. And when they were asked why you banned him, I thought Getter was free speech. They're like, oh, because of his supporters or groypers. And it's like, you're banning the guy because of his support. Like these people don't even have logical reasons for banning it, especially if you're making a new social media. So long story short, everybody and their mama and their baby mama's mama tried to cancel Nicholas J. Fuentes and act like this young kid who's got decades of political analysis left in him. They tried to blacklist him. And it's just so funny because now he's with the most famous person in the world. And the same thing that they did to Kanye West, they did to Nick Fuentes years ago, and now they're teaming up. Personally, I think it's hilarious. I love it. And, there's reports, like I said, that Kanye's taking phone calls with Owen Benjamin. Owen Benjamin, the same thing. They tried to cancel him. They tried to say he was anti-Semitic. Now he's talking to Kanye, according to his own reports. Nick Fuentes, same thing. They called him anti-Semitic. Everything that happened to Kanye West is stuff that has already happened to other right-wingers who went down that path, even to a smaller extent. And it seems like Kanye's teaming up with all of them. And also Kanye said he had a meeting with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. And I have to say this, people always say, oh, Anomaly hates Trump, this and that. If Donald Trump teams up with Kanye West and Kanye West is allowed to speak his mind and make fun of Ben Shapiro, I will be back on the Trump train, okay? Quote me on this. If Donald Trump taps Kanye West as his vice president and Donald Trump allows Kanye West to say whatever he wants, you might even see me buy a MAGA hat. So, but you can't silence Kanye. You have to let him speak his mind, and he has to align himself with who he wants to align himself, like Owen and Nick, because I find it hilarious, and I think it's it's like a full circle. It's so funny. It's like you tried to ban everybody, and here it comes. That's why I was so excited when Kanye came out and made this like a huge thing. It's not because I'm anti-Semitic or I hate Israel. It's just I know the Ben Shapiro's of the world and the Charlie Kirks of the world and the conservative establishment of the world. They tried to act like this wasn't happening, and they said, hey, that's anti-Semitic, it's hate speech, it's homophobic. They even had the nerve to call some of Nick Fuentes supporters homophobic. I have a newsflash for you. I don't care if you're pro-gay marriage, anti-gay marriage, you're gay, you're lesbian, you're Christian, and you don't like that stuff. I don't care what side of the spectrum you're on, but if you are truly free speech and a conservative movement, you have to understand that the whole world is not as liberal as America. Look at Qatar or QAnon or however you want to say it. People are like, it's not Qatar, it's Qatar. I'm calling Qatar QAnon. I believe, trust the plan. Go watch the World Cup. Look at that. They're proud of not allowing gay flags. It's like that's a lot of the world still feels that way. It's just in America, the left controls the right, and the left acts like it's so normal. I have a video, maybe I could go find it, but it's a video of Barack Obama saying he's against gay marriage. And you would think it was like 1,000 years ago. It's so far in the past that if a conservative did what Barack Obama used to do, they call you a homophobe. So, I think personally from all my studying of politics, and I've been in the game for years, that the reason the right loses is because when they win, they lose. The left drags them left. And if you're Kanye West or Nick Fuentes or Owen Benjamin or Milo Yiannopoulos or name anybody who's got banned, it's like the right is quicker to disassociate because they don't want to look like the bad guy, which is why they keep going further left. So I just think it's hilarious and epic that the most famous, I was just having a conversation with my buddy today. He was trying to say you could say that Kanye is more famous than Elvis Presley. I know especially to some older people, that's like, no, Elvis is the most famous person ever. I mean, Kanye really is that guy to our era. Whether you like him or not, he's perhaps the biggest hip hop artist on the planet, which is one of the biggest music genres on the planet. He's also a producer. People don't know this, but he also makes the beats for a lot of other people. So he's also a producer. He married Kim Kardashian, who's probably the most famous woman on the planet, which made him even more famous. He got into fashion and created a multi-billion-dollar shoe company. I mean, the guy really is like on his own planet. He's not just a performer. He's done like 5 different things to the highest level. So whether you like him or not, he's like the most famous person on earth. And he's hanging out with Milo Yiannopoulos, taking phone calls with Owen Benjamin, and hanging out with Nick Fuentes. It's hilarious. I mean, it's like, I'm having a blast with it. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh my gosh, he's hanging out with all the anti-Semites. You could call Nick and anyone you want that, but have a debate. Ben Shapiro is afraid to debate Nick Fuentes because Nick would destroy him in a debate. They're afraid to talk to Owen Benjamin because Owen's funny and unfiltered. They play this game of like, we're edgy, but it's like, yeah, the only way no offense, the only way you could think that Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, and Andrew Klavan are edgy is by blacklisting people like myself, Owen, Kanye, Nick Fuentes. So now there's like, oh, look at these 3 bad men. You got Andrew Klavan and Michael Knowles and Ben Shapiro fighting the liberals. Like, yeah, that fake reality only works if you ban everybody that's more funny or interesting or more honest and unfiltered than you. Yeah, you look so cool. But if it were a true free market, they wouldn't stand a chance. And, a lot of this awakening that I realized that they're doing this, it happened in 2019. Before the lockdown, Charlie Kirk was on some sort of Turning Point USA college free speech, like fight the liberals tour, whatever he does, right? And all I had, if people remember, from 2016 to 2019, I had nothing negative to say about TPUSA, nothing negative to say about Charlie Kirk. In fact, I still compliment them. They do great events. There's a lot of great people. I have a lot of friends who work for TPUSA. I don't think they're bad people over there at all. I think most people over there are great conservatives and patriots. With that being said, when Charlie Kirk went on his little school tour to debate leftists or whatever he does, Nick Fuentes at the time, who's this 20-year-old, conservative influencer, he said, hey, let's all go to his events. He calls his supporters the Groypers. And he says, let's all go to these events and ask Charlie Kirk the tough questions. Let's ask him about Israel. Let's ask him about foreign aid. Let's ask him about homosexuality. Let's ask him about race and, demographics and crime statistics. I mean, he was taking like very edgy conversations to the right wing from a right wing perspective. And the way that I saw Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk handle that, as somebody that, when it comes to both parties in this little battle, I didn't really have a side. I'm just observing as a voter and an American. The way they handled it was terrible. They were like, oh my God, they're homophobic, they're anti-Semitic, they're racist, they're white nationalists. And I'm like, wow, I guess that's all it takes to turn Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro into snowflakes. All you have to do is ask questions about Israel, homosexuality, and race. And all of a sudden they turn into the liberal and they start calling you racist, sexist, anti-Semitic. So that really woke me up because I was like, listen, you don't have to like Nick Fuentes or his supporters, but how are you going to not have a conversation with them? Because even if they came to my event and asked a question, it's just a question. I mean, left wing, right wing, I'm not immune to any sort of question, no matter, I don't think questions can be bad. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So at that point, that's when I realized, and that's what I've been trying to tell people over the last few months, like Ben Shapiro prides himself on debating Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur and Sam Harris, but he won't debate Nick Fuentes or Kanye West. So why will you debate liberals who share none of your values, but you won't debate conservatives who share like 50 to 80% of your values? Why is Ben Shapiro so afraid of debating Nick Fuentes? Why is Ben Shapiro so afraid of having a conversation with Kanye West? Once you realize what they're doing, they start calling you anti-Semitic. And even if you don't say anything, it's like I started getting notes. I told people this, but just to refresh, listen, I'm uncancelable. I'm not Ye. I'm very far from that in like fame and wealth. I'm nowhere near that, but I am just letting anybody at TPUSA, Daily Wire, I am uncancelable. Don't try me. Don't mislabel me. It's not going to work. That's just me letting you know. You're not going to assassinate my character. You're not going to lie about me. I'm not allowing it. I'm going to make you look stupid. So don't even try. That's just a disclaimer. With that being said, I have a bunch of friends at these organizations. I mean, half of TPUSA are my friends. They like me. So they're going to tell, I'm not like trying to get people in trouble. I'm just saying like, you're not going to kick me out of this world and act like you're better than me. It's not happening. So stop. Just stop it. But, I was getting reports in 2019. People were like, oh, Anomaly, you're starting to get blacklisted. And I was like, why? I didn't do anything. They're like, well, people think you're too far right. And I'm like, why do people think that in the conservative world? And then they told me, well, back when Nick Fuentes had a Twitter, he retweeted my tweet. That's all. I at the time, I'd never messaged him, spoken to him. I think before he got banned, he sent a message to me. But before that, I'm allowed to talk to who I want. They can't tell me I can't talk to Ye or Candace or Nick. I could talk to whoever I want. I'm an American. But long story short, they were blacklisting me in the conservative world, and I didn't even do anything. I didn't even talk to Nick. He retweeted my tweet. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy pettiness, because you got to understand at the time, and now I have 600 million views on Facebook. I have songs with tens of millions of streams. I'm all over the place. So there's left-wingers who share it, right-wingers who share it. There's senators who've shared it, athletes. I'm not responsible for everyone who shares my vid. Like, that's a crazy weird thing, because he shared my tweet that has thousands of retweets. Oh, now I'm responsible. What the hell? So I learned how phony a lot of these conservatives were then. I'm like, wow, they're going to try to blacklist me from all these opportunities because Nick Fuentes retweeted me. What a bunch of safe space, leftist, snowflake, hypocrites. And that's what they are. That's what Kanye's doing Nazism. Oh, yeah. Debate him, bro. Debate. Oh, you don't want to debate. You only want to debate blue hair. We get it. So I'm thrilled with what's going on, because this is like the elephant in the room of why nothing ever works. And it's like a crazy alternate reality where Kanye West comes out and he's hanging out with Milo, talking to Owen Benjamin, Nick Fuentes, like all the people they tried to cancel. Kanye's taking them and being like, yo, I'm going to make them even bigger than you could ever make them. And I guarantee you that the staff at Daily Wire is freaking out. TPUSA is freaking out. I mean, they tried their hardest to make sure you never knew who Nick Fuentes was. They tried their hardest to say that Owen Benjamin is so crazy. Listen, Owen is funny and he's loose and he's definitely not politically correct. But if you look at Owen, he moved out of a city. He has a family. He like has goats. He has a bunch of kids. Like, oh yeah, that's so crazy. Yeah, crazy Owen's milking his goats again, and he has a bunch of kids. Like they painted this reality that he's so bad, but listen to us. And it's like the truth. They were always lying about it. It's like, yeah, it's the same with, I don't want to make false comparisons or anything, but I'm just thinking they're like, oh, it's better to be politically correct and fake than it is to be a little bit wild but honest. And a lot of us don't see it that way. I would rather listen to edgy jokes when I know somebody's at least trying to tell me the truth. Like if you listen to Kanye talk or Owen Benjamin talk, they sound like they believe themselves. Like say what you want about whoever, like it doesn't sound like a script when Kanye's talking. When I listen to Ben Shapiro talk, it's like a lawyer. He's like he doesn't sound like a confident man because he's not a confident man because he doesn't have soul and passion. He doesn't have what real men have, which is like, this is what I believe and this is the truth. It's anti-Semitic. Oh my God. He's such a fake. So this is the season of uncanceling the canceled. I feel like we're living in the pendulum swinging back. Elon Musk is taking back Twitter. He's bringing back hundreds of accounts. Kanye West is hanging out with everybody that conservative Inc., like normie conservative cultures tried to blacklist and bringing them back. And, a Kanye West cosign is better than a Daily Wire cosign. I'm not knocking Daily Wire. I think they do some great work. I'm just saying like Kanye is way bigger than anything they're doing. So, I think it's a pretty wild time. And I think this was always the trajectory to some extent. Because if it's true, it's true. For example, if I say, Pfizer paid Donald Trump $1 million, Donald Trump hired a pharmacy lobbyist, and then Donald Trump did what Big Pharma wanted to a main extent, you might get mad at me. You might say, Anomaly, you have Trump derangement syndrome. Anomaly, that's so bad. You're a hater. But what I just said is true. So whether you believe it or not, the results of that are going to happen anyway. It's the same with like certain things that Owen and Nick and Kanye are saying. They might not always say it in a way that you want to hear, but there's something there that people don't want to talk about, and it's not going away no matter how much you try to cover it up. It's going to come back. It's going to come back bigger because the truth doesn't go anywhere. If you got spaghetti sauce all over your face and I say you look great, it's still on your face. Unless it rots to your face, it's going to be there. So, I think that's like, this was always going to happen because these are things that most conservatives don't want to talk about. Just like in the left-wing party, there's a lot of donor money involved, a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars swirling around. And also this little game of like, well, I don't want to look that well. I don't want to talk to them. There's a real concerted effort to cancel people for simply having conversations with people that right-wingers don't want to. They've tried so hard to blacklist anybody, including myself. I'm not complaining because I don't need what they have, but I was getting internal reports for mainstream conservative media. You guys know how chill I've been over the last couple of years, that I'm pretty much blacklisted as too far right for the conservative movement because Nick Fuentes retweeted my tweet. Oh, I'm sorry for being so popular that thousands of people reshare my stuff. Oh, I'm so sorry. I got a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew. They all retweet it. Oh, I must be Muslim, Christian, Jewish at the same time now. Because is this the game we're going to play? This is the same game left-wing media plays. This is the same game I believe that the feds try to play. They try to be like, oh, well, I've had this happen from every angle. I've had left-wing media say, oh, Anomaly's taking a picture with Roger Stone. I was at an event and Roger Stone was at the event. I don't know him. I've spoken to him for 5 seconds. Someone said, hey, Anomaly, take a picture with Roger Stone. I did it. Oh, now I'm Roger Stone. I know nothing about the guy. We've barely spoken just at that event for like 10 seconds. Then it's right-wing media trying to ban me because I get retweeted by people that they don't want me to retweet. And then you have this game of, well, we saw Anomaly at that protest. So it's like, they're trying so hard to make it so, you're not free in this country. You're not free to speak your mind. You're not free to be friends with people. You're not free to get retweeted by someone. Someone in the comments said Anomaly should be on Timcast. I got flown out to be there. My flight got delayed that they booked, and then they locked me out of the podcast, treated me like garbage, didn't invite me back for 3 days, and talked to me like I was a piece of garbage. So I would have loved to go on Timcast, but unfortunately, that flight has flown. They locked me out of the podcast, treated me like trash, and Tim has never reached out to me to this day. They treated me like complete scum. They're little beanie demons over there. So if they want to apologize and say sorry, that's fine. And then on top of it, they lied about I got a hotel closer to the airport because they wanted me to go out in the middle of nowhere. They locked me out of the podcast and they're like, oh, you can't go to your. So I booked a hotel closer to the thing and I asked and they're like, oh, we'll pay for it. And then they didn't pay for it. Tim's staff is garbage. He's a piece of trash. So he can apologize to me. I don't need the money. It's not like I need it, but it's like there's such low life scum over there. Locking me out of my own podcast, not allowing me to show up. They booked the flight. They said they'd pay for the hotel, and then they weaseled their way out of it, like a couple $100. Like, there's some serious evil demons out there. And for the record, I'm just going to be honest because they treated me like shit. Nobody likes Tim Pool. I know 5 people that have been on the show, and I'm like, that must have been great. Nobody likes the guy. Everybody just uses him for attention because they want the audience. Like, I'm like, oh, you must have really liked him, right? And they're like, dude, no, like he's weird. His staff's weird. They treat everybody weird. He's a phony. He won't even look at you in the face. And then when the lights come on, he acts like he's your friend. And then when it gets off, they tell you to leave. Like he's a piece of garbage. So I'd love to talk to him, but he should apologize to me, because he treated me terribly. I got stranded in the middle of nowhere for multiple days. And they're like, oh, we can't have you on the podcast the next couple of days. And I'm watching the guest. It's like 1 guest, 8 microphones. I mean, if I was someone that they didn't like, it's almost like a humiliation ritual or something. Because I'm sure if I was James O'Keefe or Jack Pasabic, they would have been like, oh, yeah, sure, come to the podcast. Come a little bit late. It's not a big deal. You could show up 20 minutes in. I wouldn't have been that late. And I didn't book my flight. It's not like I'm late. They booked the flight. They booked the flight that I was on. But anyway, it's like if I was James O'Keefe or Jack Pasabic, they would have been like, oh, come 10 minutes late. It's not a big deal. Oh, come tomorrow. Come the next day. But when it's me, it's like, oh, let's treat him like shit. Let's act like it's fine and it's not meant to be. And it's like total dumpster babies over there. I'm convinced he hires people that like make him look good. So he's got a bunch of little beanie gremlins, but whatever. I mean, I wish I could have talked to his audience because there's a lot of stuff that he doesn't bring up, but apparently they wanted to put me through some sort of like weird demonic humiliation ritual and, talk to people that are less cool than me, but it's okay. But yeah, that's the story of the day. The first one is Washington Post admitted that, it's no longer a pandemic of the unvaccinated. The second story was CNN is totally uninterested in what really happened at the shooting. They're just trying to push their politics. And third is, Kanye West is hanging out with everybody that conservative media tried to blacklist. And I believe it's a great thing because there's a lot of stuff that they don't want to talk about. And this is why I keep going after Ben Shapiro. And I'm going to keep doing it. I might just ramp it up. I don't want what he has. I don't need any money, any power, any opportunities. That's not what I want. This is what Ben Shapiro does. He punches at you and runs away. For years, he's been like, Nick Fuentes is too far right, but he won't debate him. Then he says, he trashes Kanye West and calls it Nazism. Oh, it's Nazism. It's textbook Nazism. Oh, it's so Nazi because he said that Jewish people run the media. Oh, that's what the Nazis said. Okay, then why don't you have a conversation with Kanye? Why don't you call him a Nazi to his face? Ben Shapiro would never. I would say everything I'm saying right now to Ben Shapiro's face. I'm not doing it behind his back. I would love to debate. It's been 3 years of Ben Shapiro lying and covering up the speech laws that he supports. It's been 3 years of Ben Shapiro selling out America and calling you an anti-Semite if you really is what he's doing. I'm willing to say this to his face, but he won't say anything to anyone's face. He just smears your name, blacklists you behind the scenes, runs around in circles, calls you a Nazi, and then says he's too manly to debate you because he's, little Ben Shapiro only debates Sam Harris, only the most intellectual dark web debates for him. I don't need anything that Ben has, and I'm not desperate for an opportunity. I'm just tired of him covering up the reality of what's going on in this country, blacklisting it as too far right, yet refusing his audience to see the truth. Have a debate with Nick, have a debate with Ye. So I'm on team Ye. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know what he's going to do and I don't support everything he does, but as far as what's going on right now, Ye is on the right side of history, and these people are not ready for that conversation. Someone said he's below my grade. It's not a competition to a certain extent. I'm just saying I've told people about the speech laws that are being passed in this country. If you look at McCarthy, I can tell everybody why it's happening. McCarthy gets back in as the House Speaker. The first thing he does is he says he's going to ban Ilhan Omar for anti-Semitism. Listen, ban Ilhan Omar all you want. Get rid of her. She's not a conservative. Why would you put her on a foreign council? But in general, ban her because she's not good at foreign policy. I don't like Ilhan Omar because her politics are bad and she's got a bad attitude. With that being said, why do you think Kevin McCarthy's first thing as House Speaker is anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism? They're all passing anti-Semitism speech laws. Everything's anti-Semitic. You question Netanyahu, it's anti-Semitic. You say it's all about the money, it's anti-Semitic. Ilhan Omar is a joke, but she said it's all about the Benjamins, and every right-winger said it's anti-Semitic. It is all about the Benjamins. Why do you think they all push big pharma shots? They're all getting paid. Why do you think Israel has so much power in America? Because the biggest donors in the parties are usually pro-Israel, and they spend $100 million, and then Trump and DeSantis jump up like puppets. Oh, that's anti-Semitic to say? No, that's how donor money works. They're all full of it. So if you say they're getting paid or it's about money, then they call you an anti-Semite. And then when everybody's mad at Ilhan Omar, you have Republicans passing speech laws through legislation. This is how it works. I'm going to break down the entire deception in under 2 minutes, okay? Ilhan Omar says something. Then Republicans say, oh my God, she's an anti-Semite. And then everybody says, because they don't like Ilhan Omar because she's a clown, they say, oh, that's bad, whatever. And as they're calling her an anti-Semite, behind closed doors, Trump and DeSantis and Republicans are passing speech laws that go against the Constitution. Now it's hate speech to say that Jews killed Jesus. Now it's hate speech to say that Jews run the media. Now it's hate speech to say that Israelis in America have loyalty to Israel. All of these things, they're infringing on the First Amendment under the guise of anti-Semitism, but nobody realizes they're doing it because they point to Ilhan Omar and say what she's saying is hate speech. And then as they're doing that, the reason nobody hears about it in media is because people like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro and their little ilk, they're all covering it up and saying, no, it's true. I mean, yeah, we believe in the right to protest, but not the right to protest Israel. I mean, we believe in free speech, guys, just not the right to, free speech for Israel could hurt people. And they do the same thing the left does. And that's why nobody knows about it, because Ben Shapiro's a gatekeeper. TPUSA won't go down this path. And they make sure behind the scenes to blacklist people like myself and others who are willing to say the truth about what the Republican Party is doing. So it's a big cover up. Okay. And the way that they cover it up, the hardest, besides blacklisting anybody who's going to talk about it, is by using the word anti-Semitism to just write it off as hate speech. So they believe in hate speech as well. And it's not anti-Semitism to say that they're doing it for donors. They are doing it for donors. These same people, if you pay them $1 million, people just think that Republicans are different because they like Republicans more. Most of these people in politics, like, why do you think I don't want to be in politics? And you should run for office. Because I'm not like a psycho, self-absorbed like lunatic. Like, who wants to really run for office? I'm not saying everybody who runs for office is a lunatic. Thomas Massey's a good guy. But you think these people are like your best friend and they're doing whatever the money does. And it's like, oh, they would never do that. Only the left does. No, they do that too. If the donor said do this, they do this. They don't make up the speech laws that they're passing through Congress. They've been written. I've explained it. I'll do it every live stream if I have to. They've been written by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. They've been pushed by the Anti-Defamation League, who somehow has influence in every industry. And the State Department has announced it as well. And these are hate speech laws going into legislation. And that's why I'm happy that Kanye's hanging out with Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is not perfect. I don't follow him enough to know what he's been saying over the last 2 years, but is he worse than Ben Shapiro? These are Ben Shapiro must be better than Nick Fuentes because he talks like a mumbling like lizard. Like, why does that make him better than Nick Fuentes? Why is Kanye worse than rappers telling people to kill themselves? Because he said something about a group of people that was hurtful. So that makes him worse than rappers who are getting thousands of kids killed with their drug, gang music. How is that worse? This is why I can't stand Republicans in some senses, is because they only act. They're actors. Oh, we're against political correctness, just not that type of political correctness. We're for free speech. They're gatekeeping liberalism. I mean, Bryson Gray always calls Republicans liberals and they get mad. They are liberals. Your favorite conservatives are liberals gatekeeping liberalism, gatekeeping the slippery slope. And when you have a conservative party, if it's a big tent, you're supposed to have the gays and the Christians. But what the conservatives do is like, you're probably more likely to get booked by one of these conservative organizations if you're a far left drag queen than if you are a right-wing Christian who doesn't believe in it. You get what I'm saying? It's like, if it's truly going to be a big tent conservatism, you can't kick out the right. I had trouble getting to a TPUSA event. They let me in, but they were almost going to not let me in. Oh, Anomaly, we saw your tweets criticizing us. You're damn right I criticized you because you guys support speech laws. And I'll say it to your face too. Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know if you can come to our event. Well, when I went to the event, Reuters is there, left-wing organization. Why is it harder to get into a right-wing event as a right-winger who believes in conservative values than it is as a normie left-winger photo guy? That's who these people are. And I don't care. I'll say it to their face. I'm not doing it for any other reason. I'm not trying to defame the organization. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe that you guys are gatekeeping the slippery slope. And I have some choice words for people like Ted Cruz and others who put on this show, but they're really just gatekeeping the demise. So, I see what are they hiding? Why are they scared? It's a game of power for a lot of people. I was talking to my buddy on the phone, and I mean, he's not the only one saying this, but Joe Rogan talks about sometimes on his podcast, certain comedians don't want other comedians to get to certain places. And then there's the type of people that are like, oh no, there's enough room for everybody. In politics, a lot of people don't want to get upstaged. I'm not going to say exactly where, but when I was at a conservative, I'm trying to think where I was. I might as well just say it. I don't really care. I got invited to like Trump's campaign thing before I got invited to the White House a couple years ago. And everybody there was super nice. I'm not here to say anything bad about it. Like they were like, Anomaly, do you want to go to his campaign office? Someone recognized me at his campaign office. I was just doing like a walkthrough of the thing. And when they recognized me, there's some little guy, some little nope, I don't know what he was, but I guess he had a big thing. He turned to me and said, I'm the gatekeeper here. Literally, like he was like a lost, extra from Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory or something. I didn't even treat him bad at all or say anything, but he looked at me just like off of somebody recognizing me and tried to shoot me down immediately and be like, oh, don't get too ahead of yourself. I'm the gatekeeper there. This is what politics is filled with. A bunch of do-nothing nobodies who are threatened by talent. When I see talent, I try to put it on a pedestal. Oh, Candace said something good, I'm going to say it. They said something good, I'm going to say it. Even Shapiro, he says something good, I'll promote it. The only competition I want to be is like get the nonsense out of there and get the right message to the people. And if somebody's doing something great, I want to elevate that person. But a lot of people in politics, they're threatened by other people. It's like they're putting on this fake act of like, we're the patriots. It's all a show. They're like, how much money can I get? Will that person make me look bad? If I sat down with 30 of your favorite conservative influencers, people that never talk about the speech laws and they never mention all the stuff and they never criticize Trump's, big pharma operation because they want to hang out with them. If I sat in a room with them with no cameras on behind closed doors and all of your 30 favorite influencers who don't want to say what I'm saying, none of them are going to debate me, guys. They all know what I'm saying is true. I've hung out with a lot of them. They know what I'm saying is true. I told them it 3 years ago when they tried to cancel Nick Fuentes. I told them it 2 years ago. They all know it's true, but every time, it's been like 10 times. Do you know what they say to me? They don't say you're wrong. They don't say it's bad. They say now's not the time. Because now is never the time for them. Now's not the time because I want to make more money. Now's not the time because I'm starting to get popular. Now's not the time because I'm rising the ladder in conservative media, and I know this would be my, death sentence to my credibility. Now's not the time. That's all they tell me. They know what I'm saying is true. They don't want to say it because it's just never the time. It's never the time to mess up their pockets. It's never the time to mess up their friendships. It's never the time. Everybody just wants to just do just enough to pretend like they're doing. It's fine. I get it, but I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. I'm not here to make friends. I have enough friends. I don't need an opportunity. I'll take a cruise with my family. I don't need friends. But would I work for Ye? Possibly. I don't know. Possibly. Depends what the offer was. And I don't personally really want to work in politics or on campaigns, so probably not. But I mean, if I felt like he was authentic and he had a chance and it was a net positive and I could do something, maybe. But I'd I'd rather stay out of it personally. I don't know. Same with like Trump. I've weighed that in my head. It's like if Trump offered me a job in like 2018, would I take it? Probably not. I probably wouldn't because I don't know. Like, say you were a press secretary. Your job as a press secretary is not to be to speak the truth. Your job is to defend Trump or Biden. Like that, like I would never want to do that because that, like, what's her name? Karine Jean-Pierre. Her job is not to be herself. Her job is to be Joe Biden. What a bad job that is. Kayleigh McEnany or Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Their job is not to just be journalists. Their job is to defend the Trump administration. That's what they are. They're like a, concierge slash like representative. So it's an interesting job. I wouldn't want to do that personally. But someone said, did Anomaly just respond to me? Well, now I did. Why am I so resistant to working in politics? I just don't like the whole format of it. I don't like how your money's like, I don't know, you raise money for a campaign, but it's not really your money. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I don't think you should spend it on yourself, but I don't like the stress of like accounting. Well, you got this, you can't do that. I don't like all that. Plus, I don't know. I don't think it's the most important thing. I think people like Andrew Tate have shifted culture more than, Republicans have. I think a lot of politics is upstream from culture and media. So I don't think it would be like, to me, 2023, if I could do anything, I don't think running for office would be the biggest thing I could do. I think dropping a world-changing documentary or doing a piece of content that really penetrated the minds of a lot of people, that's like more crucial. But I just don't like the political world. It's fake. You got to have money to run. As much as people say, I don't want their money, everybody wants their money. I'm just going to say it right now. This is my opinion based on evidence. I don't think DeSantis and Trump are fighting over anything but donors. And this happens all the time. Trump's pissed because donors that used to give him tens of millions of dollars are giving it to DeSantis now. So if Trump doesn't have the donor money, his campaign's not going to be as strong. Can he do it? Yeah, he could do it, but he doesn't want to. Trump took $1 million from Pfizer for his inauguration. Why? Because he didn't want to pay for it himself, so he got Pfizer to pay for it. And if you get Pfizer to pay for something, they want something in return. I know Trump pretended like he doesn't do that, but he also does that. Maybe not as much as Joe Biden, but he still does it. So do I want to enter that world? Do I want to run around donor meetings telling people I'll pass speech laws for a foreign country for $10 million? I have no interest in joining that reality. It's like then you get a bunch of this money, you got to beg for it, ask people, go on tour, ask for money, then you get the money, then you have to do stuff, then you get the money, but it's not really your money, so everybody's scrutinizing it, and you got to follow campaign laws. This sounds like a bad time for me. And then you got to have the media just talking trash about you all the time. It's not a good time. The right person makes a huge difference. It's just I have no interest in it personally. Someone said BB was all over TV a couple weeks ago selling a new book. It's all about the Benjamins, just like Ilhan said. Oh, that's no, he's making money. He's Netanyahu has Republicans by the balls. You know what I'm saying? They say that that's hate speech. It's just the truth. I mean, Israel's smart. You got to give it to them. I mean, they got if I could do a drawing in my head, I mean, it's like that. They're like, oh, the New York Times is anti-Semitic. Do you remember when they had a drawing of Netanyahu walking Trump like a dog, and people said it's anti-Semitism? How soft do you have to be to say a political cartoon is hate speech? These are the same Republicans when they made Obama's ears big, and they said, oh, that's hate speech. No, he's got big ears. You know what I'm saying? That's a caricature. Like if you drew me, you draw me looking crazy like I'm that's just a caricature. So it's just like, I think that's the truth. And I don't want to be, I don't know. I don't want to be in this world where I have to lie like that. But New York Times did a political cartoon, and then Republicans said that it was hate speech. I think it was probably accurate. I think that people like Netanyahu, they got America by the balls, and that's good for their country. It's smart. Why wouldn't you? America has a lot of countries by the balls, that's I'm pretty sure we have countries like Japan by the balls. I don't know exactly, but there's countries that are completely subservient to America because they just don't have enough money and resources to do otherwise. When am I going to debate Rudy Israel? We got to touch base again. I think I'm going to talk to Eddie Bravo Sunday. That should be fun. Eddie's pretty wild. I had an interview for Tuesday that kind of fell apart, but I got to reach out to him, or he's got to reach out to me. Why am I not on Cozy TV? I'm on Rumble. I'm on BitChute. Odyssey wants me to go. If people reach out to me, I'll consider it, but I don't know. It's like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. That's where all the people are. I've built an audience there. You have to study prophecy to understand their motivation. Someone said they're attempting to start Gog Magog war in order to usher in their Messiah. Well, I think there's three elements if you consider Islam, but everybody has a religious agenda. I think, Jewish people, or not all of them, but the ones that are really running stuff, they're trying to eventually get Moshiach, which is their savior, to some point. And then Christians are trying to, do revelation or something. So it's like this unholy alliance in the Zionist movement. It's like you have Christians who think that they're going to fulfill the prophecy themselves, and they might not be doing it right, or they might not do it at all. And then you have, so I think the Zionist movement personally is like an unholy alliance between like Christians and Jews who kind of just pretend like they're doing the same thing, but they both have completely separate, scenarios that benefit them. So I just don't fake it. I mean, I'm a nice person. I got love for people, but I'm not. It is what it is. I get it. People have different belief systems and different goals for how to get to the afterlife, or what heaven on earth would look like, So I get it. I get what's going on. It's just I'm not really partaking in it. Let's see. Someone said Unholy Alliance sounds like your next song title. No, I'm not really inspired to rap about that right now. I'm gonna read a few more, and then I'm gonna roll out. Someone said I want to read that. That seemed like a good one. Jerry said on Facebook, thank you, Jerry. Conservatives don't mean hate speech like the left and want blood. It's a critique of the stupid game they play by your standards. Well, I hear what you're saying, Jerry, but I don't see it that way. They're not calling it hate speech to play like your standards. Either you believe in the First Amendment or you don't. It's like if you don't believe in the First Amendment to own the left, you don't really believe in it. This is my interpretation, as nicely as I could put it. You like Republicans and conservatives more than liberals, just like I do. So you want to believe that they're doing it with good intentions. That's what you want to believe, because you're like, oh no, we're on the good side. So when we do hate speech, it's just a critique. It's not a critique. They're passing legislation to stop people from speaking the truth because their donors tell them to do that, and because the Republican Party serves Israel. And that's just why it is. So you want to believe they're doing it from like an edgy standpoint. That's what they tell you to sell out the First Amendment. If you say something's hate speech and you refuse to debate people and you call them Nazis, you're not doing it to own the left. It has nothing to do with left wing versus right wing. It has to do with a way bigger picture going on. So that's what they tell you they're doing, but that's not why they're doing it. And it doesn't stop hate, and it doesn't, stop violence. It's not that's as long as people think that's why they're doing it, they're going to keep doing it. So why won't they have a debate on it? How come Ben Shapiro or Charlie or anybody like this, how come for 3 years, nobody wants to debate me on it? Not a single person. Why? They'll hire people that are 50 times smaller than I am and be like, oh, look at what a super, like they don't see where I'm at. They don't know me. They know what time it is. They just don't want to have a conversation about it. It's easier for them to blacklist and run away. Someone said there's no such thing as hate speech. Hate speech is the speech you hate. Of course. And if you listen to Shapiro and Prager talk about why what Kanye says is anti-Semitism, it's actually hilarious, because they both, like, their snowflake liberalism comes out and they just start melting down and crying hate speech. It's like Prager literally admits that, there's historical reasons for this stuff too that I don't know if I'm going to get into now. But, Prager says it's anti-Semitism to say that Jewish people have control in media. And Prager says, yeah, that's anti-Semitism, but it's also true, but who cares? So it's like, it's hate speech, but you say it's true, but he shouldn't care. If there's a crime rate in my city and the crime is being done by one race, you could tell me that I shouldn't care, and maybe I shouldn't care, but maybe I do care, or maybe I'm curious as to why that's happening. Does that make me racist to notice a pattern? It doesn't make you racist. It makes Ben Shapiro and Dennis Prager very sneaky to not want to have this conversation. Like, yeah, it's true, but who cares? And like, there's reasons for certain things. And, you know, when Ben said it's anti-Semitism to say that Jews are dominating the banking industry, I personally believe, from my research, and I'm willing to be corrected, I think there's historical reasons that Jewish people do very well at banking. I can name a few of them. One, I think Jewish parents do a good job. Most non-Jewish parents don't really teach their kids about finance. Most Jewish people, not all of them, but most Jewish parents like to educate their kids on finance early on. It's not a bad thing. That's smart in this world. But also historically, I think we could act like the Rothschilds never existed, but I think there's a reason that the Rothschilds dominated banking. I think one of the reasons is early on, you know, in history, even in America with pornography, etc., it's not all Jewish people, but usually Jewish people are kind of flirting the lines of what's moral and what's legal. So back in the day, you have Muslims and Christians, they don't do usury loans. They don't do banking like that. And Jewish people, that was kind of their hustle. They did banking because they were willing to push the lines of morality more than most Christians were, and they ended up dominating the entire banking industry. Did the Rothschilds not exist? I guess we could. And if you want to look at Israel, Israel was given to the Rothschilds during the Balfour Declaration. So they could say the Rothschilds are a conspiracy theory, but they were gifted Israel. That's who owns, or at least got the land. It was Lord Rothschild through the Balfour Declaration. But anyway, it's the same with pornography in America. The founder of pornography was Jewish. One of the head lawyers of the pornography was Jewish. Why? I'm not saying it's everyone's fault or it's right or it's wrong. You can decide for yourself. But it's because in a Christian nation, people think pornography is immoral. But if you don't believe in that, like Al Goldstein, who famously said that he was purposely blaspheming Christians from a Jewish perspective, then you're willing to flirt the lines of what is sexually moral and not. That's why they dominated porn early on, because they were willing to go where no Christian wanted to go. That's just historically accurate. It doesn't mean everyone's responsible. I don't think Ben Shapiro likes porn very much. I don't think he's that type of Jewish person, but and there's millions of Christians who watch it now and atheists. So it's not to blame. It's just like there's a historical reason that they founded and dominated pornography. And if you look at most social justice, LGBT flag, feminism, you can find a certain group of people behind almost everything. Does that mean they're responsible and it's nobody else's fault? No, I think they are willing to flirt the lines in societies of banking, pornography, activism, and you know, they tend to trailblaze a lot of different paths and be behind a lot of different stuff. Does that mean I hate everybody? No. Does that mean it's wrong? I mean, people can decide for themselves, but this cover up from like Shapiro and Prager to not accurately, really talk about what's going on just shows how dishonest that they really are. It's like, I want to give two examples real quick. It's like if what's the Christian organization that goes hardcore, like the Baptists? I forget their name. They have a Southern Baptist. I don't know. They're like super anti-gay, whatever. If they come together and there's thousands of like Southern Baptists, like anti-gay Christians, and they're doing all this like anti-gay legislation, and I pointed to that and I said that anti-gay legislation is rooted to their Christianity. Imagine if I was like, oh no, it has nothing to do with it. That's anti-Christian. That's anti-Christian. You remind me of the Nazis. Like, you know, that would make it weird. I'd be like, no, that's not me, but that is happening. Yeah, the Westboro Baptist, whatever. It's like, you get what I'm saying? I can identify, yeah, it is their Christianity inspiring that, although it's not everyone's Christianity, but that is what they're doing. And it does root from there. That's what an honest Christian would say. That is an inspiration for what they're doing. That's just a fact. Ben Shapiro and Dennis Prager, the Jewish community and the conservative movement, will not ever admit that, and they want to act like it's never happening anywhere, and it's not true. In fact, I think Ari Shafir, I got to see his new special. I've heard it's funny. It's called Jew. He's a Jewish comedian, friends with Rogan. Apparently, his new special is hilarious because he's kind of telling the truth about how Jews think, not all of them, but like his family, how he was raised. And he explains, I saw a joke in his new special where he says, you know, the word goy is my favorite racist word because it means everybody that's not Jewish. And he had a whole joke about the word goy and goyim, which is a Jewish word for non-Jew. And he said, I was raised to look at goyim with disgust. Ben Shapiro knows this. Dennis Prager knows this. Of course they do. I'm not saying they look at all non-Jews with disgust, but are they going to sit there and say that not a single Jewish person doesn't do that? Of course they do. Just like they say there's white nationalists and this, there's a lot of Jewish people that feel that all non-Jews are like disgusting. Maybe not a lot. Maybe it's 1%, maybe it's 5%, maybe it's 10%. I don't know. Is it possible that people that run media companies act that way? We'll never know because Dennis Prager and Ben Shapiro says everything's anti-Semitism, and they're so dishonest and they have no self-accountability or self-awareness, and all they want to do is cover for their own group, pass speech laws for their own group, serve a country, and then pass a speech law that says that they're not doing it. Imagine if I was like leading youth groups to Poland every year. Every year, Anomaly is going to send you to Poland, and then I work with government to cover up a speech law that says that I'm not doing it. Oh, it's anti-Polandism to say that I like Poland more than America. But you're taking youth trips to Poland every year. Is it not fair to say, well, Anomaly might like Poland more than America? Maybe he doesn't, but maybe he does. Is that hate speech? No, that's what Dennis Prager does. He brags about giving more, bringing more people to Israel than any Jew in America. Yet he would say it's anti-Semitism to say that he has loyalty to Israel. It's a big cover-up operation, and they're all in on it. And that's why they say it's anti-Semitism to say they're not. Doesn't mean every person's in on it, but when it comes to media, the ones who cry the loudest are in on it, and the ones who admit it's true are not in on it. It's that simple. I have dozens of Jewish friends in media who admit, like, yeah, that is kind of happening, and they're not in on it. But the Shapiros and the Pragers, they are in on it. That's why they say that it's not happening. And it's like, just be honest about it. Say, there's Muslims in the Middle East that are killing each other over Sunni and Shiite. Doesn't mean you're doing it, but it does exist. There's millions of peaceful Muslims, and there's millions of great Muslims in great countries, and there's millions of people suffering. It doesn't mean everyone, you get what I'm saying? Anything else, everybody understands the dynamic of that. And I explained it earlier, but it's worth repeating because it's an interesting phenomenon, is the mainstream argument in the conservative movement is to not label things, just talk about individuals. This makes no sense in any form. Don't talk about the German national team. They're not Germans. They're all different. They're doing LGBT stuff and losing. They're not. Don't call them Germans because that's anti-germaphobe. They're all individuals. It's not all of Germany doing. Yeah, we know it's not all of Germany doing that, but the easiest way to describe the German national team would be by calling them Germans. It doesn't mean I think all Germans are like that. So in no other part of the world would you never group things together in order to not offend people. But when it comes to Jewish people, this is what the right wing wants to do. Now, all of a sudden, groups don't exist and we just got to talk about them as individuals unless they're talking about, it doesn't make any sense. And to dissect it, it's like, you just be like, well, it's not everyone. Be like, yeah, exactly. And then, and then you move forward in the conversation. It's like, dude, there were 5 people who robbed the store and they were all this race. Oh, well, it's not all of us. No, I didn't say it was all of you. I'm just saying that just happened. I don't know any other way to describe it. Were they men or women? They were men. Well, it's not all men. Of course it's not all men. Were they tall or small? Well, they were pretty tall. Well, I'm tall and it wasn't me. Yeah, I'm not saying it was you. This is just how labels work in society. You use the best of information that you can to describe what's going on. And then, if you're wrong or hateful or it's off center, you correct somebody with your speech. That's the only way things work. We can't drop labels completely. We can't have double standards. I'm very big on this because it's like how everything works. So, I don't think there's solving any of these complex issues when you just kind of say, nah, you can't go there, and that's hate speech. It's like, okay, maybe some people believe that, and a lot of influencers pretend to believe that because they want to get booked at universities. So, you actually might not be able to speak at college universities if you say what I'm saying. It might act like there's been legislation passed through by Trump that there have been critical of Israel, and I'm not even really critical of Israel. I wouldn't even say that that's accurate because that's not what I'm doing. But like Abby Martin, who in my opinion is annoying and I don't like her, but she couldn't speak on a college university because Trump passed an executive order quashing protests and conversations around Israel. So it's like there might be a reason no one else says this in the Republican Party, because it might be the death of their college tour. Like I literally might not be allowed to speak on college campuses because Trump passed an executive order for anti-Semitism. Even though nothing I say is hateful, nothing I say is anti-Israel or anti-Jewish. It's like them the laws, these were passed through by the Republican Party via executive order. And now it's a dicey situation to, protest or boycott Israel or say one of the 30 anti-Semitism laws that exist, So I don't know. I haven't really booked a college tour or anything, but I'm pretty sure I might run into some obstacles. Let's see. Someone said Israel and Ukraine are politician slush funds. No one in the federal government will change it either. Well, this is one conversation that conservatives don't want to have. Even if you love Israel and support Israel, I like Italy. I'm part Italian. I tend to like Italy, not as much as America, but I don't hate it. I like Italians. We don't give $2 billion a year to Italy. So if we gave $2 billion a year to Italy and I said, hey, maybe we should cut the funding to Italy because why are we just giving them money? And then everybody called me an anti-Italy phobe, it would be weird. But that's what happens to Israel. I don't know if any country on earth has gotten more money from America than Israel. We give them billions of dollars in aid every year. But if you disagree with it, you're anti-Semitic. So basically, they're just sucking money out of America any year. Why, if we're such good allies, why don't we flip it around for 10 years, right? We love Israel. Israel loves us. Why doesn't Israel give us money? Why don't they give us $2 billion and we could build a wall with it? You get where I'm saying? This is the relationship. America's cucked to Israel. So it's just like, we give you money and you just, I guess, essentially rob us. But if you call it robbing us, it's anti-Semitism. Oh, let's reverse roles. You guys got money too. Why don't we get money? Someone said no one is attacking Italy. There's a lot of countries being attacked. We're being attacked at our borders. So if you want to give money to everybody all the time, that's fine. That's the argument of Ukraine too. Let's give them $100 billion because they're being attacked. I guess everyone's problem's our problem, but our problems are no one's problem. Great. That's kind of what Trump ran on. But in Ukraine, it's like there's also a connection there with Israel. I read a 2019 report from The Atlantic. This is why calling stuff hate speech is so dangerous. In the report from Atlantic, it was called The Betrayal of Volodymyr Zelensky. If you want to read it, I don't recommend reading articles very much because most of them are garbage. This one's pretty good. It's very long, but it was before the media loved Zelensky a lot. And the media, The Atlantic, wrote a whole critical piece of Zelensky called The Betrayal of Volodymyr Zelensky and Kolomoisky, who is his big backer. Zelensky and Kolomoisky both happen to be Jewish. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. But if you read the article, I believe they flew to Israel and Switzerland 11 times. What's in Switzerland? What's in Israel? If you read up on Kolomoisky, he built apparently the biggest Jewish center in the world. So it's not like, oh, these people are both Jewish and that's why I'm anti-Semitic. Or it's like, no, he's built. It's like if you're a Christian funding something and you build the biggest church in the world and you say, oh, it's anti-Christophobe to say that I'm doing it. No, you're not just a random person. You're building some of the biggest Jewish facilities on earth. And you're flying this guy to Israel. I made a joke on Twitter, which would get me canceled if I had a way to get canceled. I said maybe Zelensky flew to Israel to try to learn how to suck money out of America, because that's what they both do. Israel takes $2 billion from us a year and Zelensky takes even more than that. It's like this big game of how much money can we take from America? I don't know. Let me go in my bank account. I'll send it to Ukraine. But I'm not saying it because of that. It would be like if two guys were Saudi Arabian and Muslim and they built a big Muslim center and I said, hey, maybe these two Saudi Arabian Muslim guys who flew to Saudi Arabia 11 times and built a huge Muslim convention, maybe they're Muslim. Oh my gosh, that's anti-Islam. No, it's a fact. But Jewish people get away with this stuff all the time. Nothing matters, you can't notice it. It's like Dave Chappelle said in his new stand-up. He said, a group of black people is a gang, a group of Italians is a mob, and if Jewish people do something, it's a coincidence and you shouldn't even notice it. That was his exact joke, and that's why it's hilarious. It's not saying everyone's doing it, but if 10 black guys do a crime and they're all black, it doesn't mean they're in a gang, but you might speculate. And if you do, it doesn't make you a racist, or 10 Italian guys in suits get in trouble. It's you get what I'm saying? So this is the big this is like the big elephant in the room, even with Zelensky. But I guess it's better to just not notice and not talk about it because you don't want your bank account closed or something. And then if you say that, I'm not even going to specify who because I don't feel like getting into it right now. I'd rather just ignore it. But I made a joke on an Instagram page. Okay, I made a joke and I said, if you say what Kanye said, they'll close your bank account. That's all I said because they closed his bank account. Keep in mind, they'll close your bank account for other things too, but I'm just talking about this. I had somebody, I'm not going to say who, but a blue check mark, high profile person in an industry. I'm not going to say what because I don't feel like getting into it. They messaged me and said, "What did you mean by that? What did you mean by that?" Like I have to tell you what I meant by an Instagram joke? I mean, this is the level of cover up that there is. What did you mean by that? Were you talking about Jewish? It's like, I didn't even say Jewish in the thing. And why would you even DM me anyway? I owe you nothing. I don't work for you. I guess they just found me because I was the top comment. But it's like, I didn't even say a single thing. I just said, if you talk about that, your bank account. What did you mean? I don't know. What did I mean? It's like a crazy moment, but whatever. Someone said they should never be able to close anybody's bank account. Well, those days are past. Politics will get you in trouble. Definitely certain conversations. It's so crazy too, because there's this guy, right? I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's this guy. He was like a white quarterback, and he was gonna go to Florida, and he said the N-word in a rap song. He was just doing the lyrics, and they took away his scholarship, and now they won't let him go to school. If you can, I mean, I get why, I guess, but it's like, why at this point, why even listen to music you're not allowed to rap to? And I'm not saying this like I care. There's thousands of black artists that don't care what you say, and they don't say that. But it's like, white people, why at this point, why would you even listen to music that you can't rap to? You're going to get your whole life canceled because you sung the lyrics to a song? Could you imagine Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles being like, "Oh, he sang my song. Let's take away his," people got to stop listening to this stuff. The only reason that they sell it is because we buy it. So stop buying it. You know what I'm saying? We're not the victims. Nobody's the victim. Why listen to music you can't even rap to? And they're trying to ruin this guy's career over that. And that's what political correctness is, whether it's Jewish or black or white. They'll ignore a string of attack on Jewish people because there's no political narrative in New York. There could be 100 Jewish people getting robbed and beaten up. The media won't care until it's a right-winger or doing it, or Kyrie Irving saying something. Like, they don't care about actual violence if there's not a political narrative to it. It's the same thing as like a quarterback. Do you think this white quarterback hates black people because he's rapping to a black artist saying a black word? Oh, yeah, So this is what political correctness really is. Like, the people that act like that's true, usually they're quote unquote more racist, but rapping a song doesn't mean you hate all people. In fact, it kind of shows the opposite. It shows admiration for the artist. So it's like, I'm tired of, oh, well, you said this, you must hate all Jews. Well, you said this, you must hate all black people. Oh, you said this, so you must hate everybody. Oh, yeah, that's how it works. You just say one word real quick, and then you hate everything. That's the game that we're all playing to. The left does it with racist and LGBT, and the right does it with Jewish, and it's like, that must mean you hate them. Right. If I say an opinion or a pattern, I'm hateful. But if you do nothing for those people and you just take donor money, you're not hateful because you take donor money and you pass speech laws. That means you love those people so much. I mean, love is not quantified by how much donor money you're sucking up and how much you cut out your own tongue to keep endorsement deals. Like, that doesn't make you a totally loving person, So it's all a joke. You say something, you rap a lyric, you hate black people. But if a black artist raps about killing black people, then that's less hateful than a white guy rapping a song. Like, who makes these rules? That's why I'm not playing to any of these rules. Elon says he won't bring back Alex Jones. Okay, I don't care. I'm not like the biggest Alex fan, but if that's your rule, then why is everybody not banned? Because everybody did what Alex did. They all politicize the death of children, and they all lie about it for political gain. They do it every time a school shooting happens. They don't care why it happened, who did it, for what reason. It's all take away your guns, and we don't care what happened. And then 2 weeks later, the real story comes out, and left-wing media pivots. So they got to get banned too. I'm not living in this world where this guy is so much worse than all these people because they do it in a smoother way. This is why people like Ye. This is why people like Trump. You know, it's like we don't subscribe to this narrative that it's so much worse to be more authentic and make a few mistakes than it is to be a fake and cover stuff up. But you must just love people, right? Yeah. Like this one guy, I'm not going to talk about him much more, but he tried to really like defame me and lie about me. He was like some older chubby black dude or something, like Zionist church guy. I don't know what he's saying, but he's like, you're literally like Hitler. And I'm like, whoa, bro. Like that's pretty slanderous, you know, but like what's your basis? Oh, well, you shared a video. That's your, do you want to talk? No, I don't want to talk. Then screw you, bro. Because I'm willing to have a conversation, but like, you're not going to parade around as like this not hateful warrior for Jews. Wow, bro, you're like a white guy in a BLM shirt. You know, like I am, you know, I love Bob Ross more than you because I have my shirt. Yeah, maybe I do, maybe I don't. You know, like I white man in Black Lives Matter shirt, love the blacks more than you do because you don't have a shirt that says so. Like, let's not play this game, okay? You're not a savior of a race you're not a part of because you're calling me a name, like, and then you won't debate me. I'm not subscribing to it. I'm not allowing it. I'm not entertaining it. And I'll defend people that are getting it done to them, just like I would want people to defend me. Someone said the trolls are real. It's not even trolls though. It's like real life people that feel this way. Like this is the big lie of the modern era. Everybody used to know this. One of my favorite things is like back home, one of my better friends is Jewish, and I asked his father, you know, he grew up in New York City. I asked his father, I was just curious of his answer. I said, did people hate Jews back then? You know, when you grew up in New York City, he's probably like in the 60s. I said, were people anti-Semitic? Like, did they hate Jews? And his answer was, no, everybody hated everybody, and it was better that way. Like, he didn't cry the victim. He didn't say it was World War II. He just said, listen, Irish people liked Irish, you know, the Italians like the Italians, you know, the Jews did the Jew thing. And he's like, and you know what? People gave each other shit, but overall it was better that way. Cause it was like, it just was what it was. I thought that was such a cool answer. He didn't cry and say he's a victim. He's just like, that's just how I grew up. You know, everybody had a little bit of a bias and I enjoyed it better because it was more straightforward. So it's like now, they used to be like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. Now it's like, oh, we'll cancel your whole life because of a tweet, and then we're going to say that you're literally Hitler. And that makes us a good person because really, you know, like you're going to quantify my love for an entire race of people based off of an opinion I said? Or if I say Zelensky and Kolomoisky flew to Israel, that means I hate everybody for pointing out a fact that bothers you. You know, like it's so childish. And I'm grateful that, and everybody, I mean, when you get canceled, it's up to you to really show people who you are. But at this point, like, luckily, I've gotten my message out there where people are not going to believe it. I'm not this random person like, oh, he really hate. All my stuff's online. My life is pretty transparent at this point. I have thousands of streams. So enough people have seen what I'm saying. Even people will say like Anomaly hates Israel. Find me where if you could tally up the compliments I've given to Israel, it exceeds the criticisms by 30. In fact, I do the opposite of the victim, and anything that I believe between the America-Israel relationships going bad, I blame America, not Israel, because it's not Israel's job to baby America. It's Israel's job to take care of itself, and it's America's job to take care of itself. I don't even criticize Israel because I don't consider myself a victim in this game of geopolitics. You get what I'm saying? So the people that say I'm so hateful, it's like you can't even find a single hateful thing I said because it's more of a game of like, it's the same if like losing an election. Can we take some accountability or no? I don't play this crybaby like, oh, no one owes us anything. No country owes us anything. No group of people owes us anything. And if you're going to allow it, it's just as much, if not more, your fault. You know, like there's got to be an ounce of like accountability in this country. Someone said Milo is Catholic. Some say he's half Jewish. I don't know if it's true. Milo is ethnically part Jewish, and he's a Catholic convert who says he's not gay anymore. So I think both are true. I think he's ethnically Jewish, but I think he's like, trying to go full blown Catholic at this point, and he's like denouncing homosexuality from what I've seen. So, that's kind of his thing. Same, I mean, he's not the same, but there's a guy named Brother Nathaniel who grew up Jewish, but now he dresses like a video game character. He looks like a wizard, and he's like an Orthodox Catholic or Christian or something. But Brother Nathaniel is a ethnic Jew who converted to Christianity or something. That guy is hilarious. He looks like a video game like warrior, like level 15. That guy's hilarious. I mean, it's not supposed to be funny, but it definitely is, in my opinion, because he just talks really funny. I don't think he's Iranian, but I have no idea. Let's see. Oh, Greek Orthodox. Yeah. See, that's where I don't know enough about like these Christians that dress like, video game characters. Like, I'm not against it. I think it looks cool, but you ever like there's like videos of like Russian monks and they're dressed like Guild Wars character or like World of Warcraft. That level of like Catholicism and Christianity is like beyond my knowledge. I kind of want to join just so I could dress like that. I don't know if like morally or ethically that's where I want to go, but as far as style, I think it's kind of cool to dress like that. And then you just look like, you just look like you're showing up to a party. People are like, what's going on? You're like, I'm super Catholic now. They're like, are you? You're like, yeah, dude, they sold me. They're like, with Jesus? You're like, nah, just the design, their designs were fire. So I figured I'd join. Let's see. Someone said, I honestly don't know Milo. He's got some good videos. If you look up Milo in like 2016 before he got canceled, there's one video that I think is really funny. If you could find it, it's Milo on NBC. It's like when Trump was running for president and Milo was supporting Trump. He did an NBC News interview, and I thought it was really funny. It definitely like, say what you want about Milo. I think he's definitely a character. He's like witty. He's got humor. That's rare in the right wing. Not completely, but usually people are not that like loose with it. So I think he blew up because he was super funny. Just like comedically good timing and stuff. Someone said Brother Nathaniel's a Greek Orthodox priest. Dude, his videos crack me up. I'm sorry, they're not supposed to be funny, but the way he talks is so funny. And like, if you've ever seen his videos, he does this thing where he'll like turn the camera off and he'll like appear there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then point at the camera. Dude, that guy is a trip, man. He's so funny, in my opinion. Yeah, he's really. I don't know if he's trying to be funny, but it definitely is. Someone said Milo is an attention whore. Say what you want. I'm just talking about from a entertainment standpoint. He's definitely got the sauce. I haven't seen him in years, but NFL looks like fake wrestling anymore. I haven't really watched that much this year, but tomorrow I probably will. Thanksgiving. I'm old school. I like to just eat a lot on Thanksgiving. Eat, watch football, get fat, take a nap. That sounds like a good time. Someone said, I have faith in Jesus. Nothing matters anymore at the end, Paul. I think that's a good mentality to have, personally. Would I make a song with Kanye? Of course. I mean, Kanye's epic. If you've never heard any of his music and you don't like rap music, listen to his album, Jesus is King. It's a masterpiece. I mean, it's incredible. There's no curses in it. It's mostly, if not all, about Jesus. Kanye's so good at music that, like, people just kind of sleep on him. And I'm not doing it to toot his own horn, but like, if you take the worst song from Jesus is King, there's like 10 songs, 8 songs. You take the worst song and you give that song to any other rapper, it's one of the best songs they've ever done. That's how good Kanye is. Like, he has so many masterpieces that his worst song is like someone's best song. I mean, that whole album, you give one of those songs to Pusha T, that's Pusha T's best song ever. He's getting a Grammy. Oh my gosh, how did he make that? But Kanye, it's like, he's always just making crazy, epic, like orchestra music. It's so good. What do I think about Man in America? I don't even know what that is. That sounds like a bad reality show with Nick Cannon as the host. Man in America featuring Nick Cannon. Nick's like, I took a break. I apologize for what I said on the podcast, and I'm back. Me and Whoopi Goldberg, we've learned our lesson. Let's see. Someone said, I went to a Southern Baptist mass a few months back, and the preacher said, why are you worried about what the lost is doing? The lost are doing exactly what they are supposed to be doing, being lost. It's interesting. I guess that's like what's meant to be will be, not to worry about it. I think it is a good mentality to not worry too much, Someone said shifty eyes. Well, I'm also, to be fair, I'm reading the comment section, so I have to like shift my eyes or else I'm not going to be able to read your comments. But I can't just like stare here. I could do it and pretend like I'm reading your comments, but it's not going to work. The reason government censors speech is to exert control. That's definitely true. Same with social media. I get censoring like really like violent things and stuff because I don't think that's protected by the First Amendment. But as far as like a political opinion, this hate speech thing needs to end. You could argue, like, if you listen to social groups like BLM and the ADL, I think the ADL always says anti-Semitism's getting worse. Anti-Semitism's getting worse. You must not be doing a good job then. Like, why, if your job is to make it better and you keep making it and you're not, what are you doing wrong? And I think, to be honest, I think that hate among races are if they are even increasing. I don't know if that's true, but if they are, I think it's because everybody's so sensitive. And I think it's because everybody is so quick to shut down a conversation. If you see crime in your neighborhood, and one race seems to be doing a lot of it, and you point it out and everyone says it's not happening and you're a racist, it's not going to make you feel better about it. Like, if I'm Italian and everything's Italian and it's happening and you say it's happening, it makes people feel better to be like, yeah, no, I do notice that and that's bad. But it's like certain groups, they gatekeep their own demise and they gatekeep their own bad habits. And then everybody else naturally doesn't like it because it's a bad habit. Yet you're supposed to act like putting on a BLM sweater is going to change it. So to me, all the racial hate that is going on, if it is going on at the rate that they're saying, is because of the speech censorship. Do you know how many people in the last 5 and 6 years have done what Kanye West has done? Not completely, but have gone down that rabbit hole that Kanye West went down with Jewish stuff? Probably like hundreds of millions of people. Why? Why did so many people do that when they never even thought about that? They didn't do it randomly because they just hate people. They did it because they started noticing things. And when they started asking questions about noticing things, people started calling them racist. And that made them mad. I think Nick Fuentes says that he was like a normal conservative, but when he asked questions about Israel, nobody would answer his question. And it forced him to kind of do his own thing because nobody wanted to work with him. So, I don't know how true that is, but I think that's a lot. Like, I don't think people are just randomly getting anti-Semitic and hateful. In fact, I don't think it's at the high that they're saying it is, but I do think a lot of people are, if there was like a public poll, the public perception is probably lower than it was 8 years ago because of all the speech censorship, speech laws, and inability for people to admit it's happening. And then you have people like Dennis Prager and Ben Shapiro covering it up and calling it hate speech, which makes people then not trust them as well. It doesn't, if Ben came out and said, hey, I don't agree with what he said, but I get what he's saying and I semi-disavow it, but I also kind of see it. If Ben did that, that would lower anti-Semitism more than him and every, person being like, oh my God, that's Hitler. Like, that only makes people more suspicious of you. It makes you look sneakier. So, I as somebody who wants hate to go in the other direction, and I don't think it gives you justification to be hateful, because if you're hateful, that's on you, and you should never hate innocent people. But simply trying to have a conversation about speech and then getting called hate speech, that's why like the ADL sucks. The ADL, oh my God, it's getting worse. It's because you're terrible. You're left wing and you have a massive racial bias. So that's not helping it. I would say that racial tension can be highest attributed to political correctness and censorship. If America started melting diversity and, you know, getting more diverse, and everybody was allowed to openly talk about what was going on, there wouldn't be that much hate. But everything's getting more diverse, yet you're not even allowed to say it's happening. If you simply notice it's happening, they'll call you a white racist or something. It's like, how is that going to ease racial tension? It's not. But there's people who capitalize off of the racial division. You know, in every group, there's Black groups that capitalize off it, Jewish groups that capitalize off it, conservative group that capitalize off it. So, you know, liberal groups that capitalize off it. So there's people that, whether they know it or not, they don't want this to reverse course because their whole grift is looking at it and identifying it and getting power through its existence. You know, if everybody came together and was like, yeah, you know, we're all pretty much the same. We're a little different. And if you want to do that, you can do that. If you want to do that, you can do that. You know, this country would be fine. But it's also like big government intervention. It's like Texas is not California. Tennessee is not, you know, Colorado. So there's a reason you're supposed to govern them differently. You're not supposed to have a blanket rule that they all have to lock down and can't go to a hospital. You know, that's crazy. That's only going to piss off people in the middle of the country that you're not allowing them. And just like different, you know, states have different ways of life based on their geolocation, et cetera, and temperature. It's the same with certain people. You know, certain groups of people have certain things that they like and dislike, or certain habits and trends on average, and then certain people don't. But to act like you can't talk about it, or it doesn't exist, or, you know, only those groups can do it, but you can't do it. We have a victim card, but you don't. That's racist, but this is acceptable. That's this, but this is this. This is anti this, but that's not anti that. It's only driving the wedge harder. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. So, you know, regardless of what people say, that's my intention, is to heal stuff, because I don't have time or energy to like hate people or fight. Like that doesn't exist in my reality. I don't live in this like fake PC world. I get along with who I get along with, and I don't need to defend myself or prove myself against grifter people that just cry hate speech all the time. It's not going to help. In fact, it does the opposite. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. Have a beautiful day. The Dream Rare podcast is available on, I might actually have just frozen my own screen real quick. So if it does, I apologize. But Dream Rare podcast available on Apple, Spotify, etc. My videos are always on YouTube, Facebook, BitChute, Rumble. If you ever want to find my links because you can't find my links, it is on dreamrarelinks.com. It's on the bottom, dreamrarelinks.com. And I just want to say, for the next couple of days, real quick, dreamrare.com, code ending soon, 22% off everything. Ending soon is all one word. So you want to hit the caps lock and do ENDINGSOON. Cram them together, all one word. Ending soon, 22% off everything on my shop. We found some more white hats. I thought they were sold out because it said that on the website, but we found a couple more. Those are there. Black hats, blue hats, all the stuff. I'm not buying any more. So if you want it, get it now. It's never going to be cheaper, and it might never be there again. But thank you guys for watching. That's it. Dreamrare.com, Black Friday. Have turkey unless you're vegan, then don't have turkey, and tweet about how you didn't eat turkey. Gravy, stuffing, mashed potatoes. In my opinion, really good time. Gotta love that food. Have a good Thanksgiving. I'll be